Hello, Year 9. I'm going to read through the assessment and only use this if you think that you need a reader in the exam. If you don't think you need a reader, then try it without. Okay. Question 1. The diagram below shows a cell. Draw a ring around the correct answer to complete each sentence. In the nucleus of a cell, genes are part of chromosomes, membranes, or receptors. Part 2. Different genes control different characteristics, gametes, or nuclei of an organism. Studying the similarities and differences between organisms allows us to classify, clone, or grow the organisms. If I go a bit too quickly, remember you can just pause the video and go back to the question I've read. Question 2. 2 of the cells are plant cells and 2 are animal cells. Which 2 of the cells are plant cells? Tick one box. Is it A and B? Is it A and D? Or is it C and D? Part 2. Give one reason for your answer. Part B. Now if you look at A, B, C and D, which cell, A, B, C or D, is adapted for swimming? Part B, II. Which cell, A, B, C or D, can produce glucose by photosynthesis? Which cell, A, B, C or D, can produce glucose by photosynthesis? Part C. Cells A, B, C and D all use oxygen. For what process do cells use oxygen? Draw a ring around one answer. Is it osmosis, photosynthesis, or respiration? Question 3. You've got a diagram of a cell and you've got little circles which represent oxygen molecules. Use the words from the box to name the structures that are labelled A and B. You've got the words cell membrane, chloroplast, cytoplasm, or nucleus. Part 2. The cell in the diagram is an animal cell. How can you tell that it is an animal cell and not a plant cell? Give 2 reasons. So how can you tell that this cell here is not a plant cell? Part B. Oxygen will diffuse into the cell in the diagram. Why? And use the information from the diagram. Part C. The cell shown in the diagram is usually found with similar cells. Draw a ring around the correct answer to complete the sentence. Scientists call a group of similar cells an organ, a system, a tissue. Question 4. Figure 5 shows a human cheek cell viewed under a light microscope. Which letter labels the nucleus? Is it A, B, or C? 4b. What is the function of the nucleus? Tick or circle one statement. It controls the activities of a cell. It is where most chemical reactions happen. It is where protein synthesis happens. It is where respiration happens. 4c. Cheek cells are a type of body cell. Body cells grow through cell division. What is the name of this type of cell division? 4d. Ribosomes and mitochondria are not shown in Figure 5. What type of microscope is needed to see ribosomes and mitochondria? 4e. Give one advantage of using the type of microscope you named in Part 4d. The cheek cell in Figure 6 is magnified 250 times. The width of the cell is shown by line D to E. And because we can't print it out and get a ruler, I have told you how many centimeters long that line is. 4F. Calculate the width of the cheek cell in micrometers. Complete the following steps. Measure the width of the cell using a ruler in millimeters. Use the equation to work out the real width of the cell in millimeters. There's your equation. Convert your millimeters to micrometers. Question 5. The diagrams show 4 cells, A, B, C, and D. You've got a mitochondrion here. You've got a chloroplast in that cell. You've got a nucleus in that cell. And you've got a cell membrane in that cell. Use the letters A, B, C, or D to answer these questions. Which cell can photosynthesize? Part B. Which cell is adapted for receiving and sending information? Part C. Which cell is adapted to respire quickly? Question 6. In this question, you will be assessed on using good English, organising information clearly, and using specialist terms where appropriate. Basically, just make sure your answer's in a good order. You can use bullet points if you want to. You don't get marked down for spelling or anything like that. It's only to do with how well your answer links together, and if you use the correct keywords, and if you answer the question properly. So, diffusion is an important process in animals and plants. The movement of many substances into and out of cells occurs by diffusion. Describe why diffusion is important to animals and plants. In your answer, you should refer to animals, plants, examples of the diffusion of named substances. So you need to say where it happens in animals, where it happens in plants, and what substances diffuse. Question 7. A cook prepares fresh fruit salads by cutting up a variety of fruits and placing them into a bowl with layers of sugar in between them. After 2 hours, the fruit is surrounded by syrup, which is concentrated sugar solution. Explain as fully as you can why syrup, concentrated sugar solution, was produced after 2 hours. And if you look here, he's just put fruit in the bowl with a bit of sugar, and later on it's come back and that sugar has dissolved to make some syrup. Question 8. The diagrams show what happens to the shape of a plant cell placed in distilled water. Plant cell, the cell swells, the cell becomes turgid. Explain why the cell swells and becomes turgid. Name the process involved. Part 2. Give one feature of the cell wall which allows the cell to become turgid. And B. Describe the change which will occur if a piece of peeled potato is placed in a concentrated sugar solution, and explain why this change occurs. That's the last question. Feel free to go back and rewatch them. I'm going to timestamp them on the exam. And then once you're done, email me your assessment.